Hey, we're broadcasting to the whole world right now. So it's working. I'm super excited about today. Welcome to the call, Mel.
Hi, thank you. So good to be here.
So we're going to take a sort of left turn today. We're talking about the surprising truth about business success. And Mel, as you can see from her little tag underneath her name, there is a business kinesiologist, which is a very unusual term because I don't think I've ever heard it before. Do you want to give us a bit of a sort of insight into what a business kinesiologist is?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, David. So, kinesiology is a holistic practice where we work with people's energy to help them take the stress out of their lives or out of their body, really. Because when we think about how our body works, we're not just physical beings, right? What happens is when we become stressed, either mentally or emotionally or even energetically, that's what creates disease in our body.
Mm.
And so, as a kinesiologist, what I specialize in is helping to take people from being in a stress state to reducing their stress. And having been in business myself for over 14 years, I understand how stressful business can be and how stressed business owners get. And that's why I focus with a lot of the work that I do, primarily with helping business owners to take the stress out of their business.
Yeah, right. So it's funny you say that because you move into a space of emotional well-being, and a lot of people in business they look at business as very pragmatic, right? It's a numbers game. You've got to find clients. You've got to serve those clients, and if you do a good job, they'll pay you well. And I totally 100% agree that one of the big things that stops people being successful in business is they get in their own way. And what I mean by that is that we as humans are emotional beings, right? And we may not think we're being emotional, but we're certainly making decisions based on what we interpret in our environment. How is this sort of manifested, or how have you seen this? So obviously you've been called to do this. It's not something that you choose in a catalogue as I'm going to be this person. You've been called to it. So tell me a bit about the story behind that.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. This is a love of a passion of mine. Um, it's funny that you talk about being really pragmatic and being numbers based because I actually started my journey as a scientist,
Right.
and I was trained in biomedical science. I was working in spinal cord injury research, and at the time, I wasn't completely fulfilled by what I was doing. And then I had the opportunity to meet Superman when he came out in 2003. And this, I have to say, it changed my life because
Let's go
it
back a
made
step. When you say Superman, you don't mean the actual Superman. You
uh,
mean
Christopher Reeve,
right.
who was Superman, like the most famous Superman, I
Of
reckon, and the most handsomest.
course. So you met him.
Yeah, yeah, and it really shook me to the bone, I have to say, because, I was quite young at the time,
Yep.
and, of course, being that he was a paraplegic, I couldn't shake his hand,
Mm.
and when you meet somebody, that's your normal sort of behavior, isn't it, to go to shake their hand? And I realized as a very kinesthetic person that I was completely in the wrong job because here I was wearing a lab coat. I was doing experiments every day. I wasn't working with people. I wasn't helping people, even though I was working in in science.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so that made me decide to enroll in a night course in remedial massage. And so 14 years ago, that's when I just decided to change my entire business, my career, chuck it all in, and started my own massage business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit creepy when you think what you just described is you sort of you're relatively young. You meet a superstar, Superman, and you have a phase shift in your life, saying that wow, this person is not what this experience is not what I expected. And I think often people do, like some people, this sounds weird, right? I met this guy and I cannot remember his name, but he's a keynote speaker and he's got no arms and no legs. He was born like a thalidomide kid. And I'm watching this presentation. This guy's strutting up and down. He's got a table on the stage and he's waddling up and down it. And he's a brilliant presenter. And he goes, I run a $10 million public speaking business and I'm successful in this. And I'm looking at him going, well, it's all right for you. Everyone wants to hear you because you got no arms. And I'm listening to myself. I'm thinking,
Wow.
I'm sitting here thinking he's lucky, right? but the reality is his disability is something he's used as a success thing, right? He's actually decided, this is how I get to listen. And his response to some of the questions was, I connect with children in schools. So a bit like what you just described with Superman. He goes, when I go speak to teenagers, they immediately connect with my message because of who I am. And so he found his purpose in life in doing this. And it was a super, motivating presentation. But it's just how we think when we see things that sort of don't fit our model of the world. It really impacts us.
100%. And I think that comes down to, your mindset and your energy
Yeah,
around what it is that you're doing.
yeah,
And I know, the title of this interview is The Surprising Truth About Business Success. And so
mm,
for me, you mentioned before, a lot of people think of business as being really pragmatic, really numbers based. But the thing that drives, I think, most business owners, it comes down to being aligned with their actual business and what they're doing and what
yeah,
they're saying and who they're connecting with. And
right.
so when you think about, the reason why you're in business,
Mm,
i- is it really what it is that you think it is?
uh-huh.
Is it just because you want to make money, or is it actually because you want to have the freedom to spend time with your family?
Yeah, I love this because my big thing is business is a means to an end. Okay.
Yeah,
And a lot of people lose sight of that, right? And they go, business is so I can make money, so I can be successful, so that I can sit on a beach and do nothing. You can sit on a beach and do nothing without money. So
without a business.
without And so you say, look, when people say, well, my business is about making profit, I say profit's a result. Okay. Here's an interesting spin,
Mm,
right? If profit is a result, what that means is if I'm not profitable, I'm not doing the right things. And so you use it as a result that measures the effectiveness of your business. And then we go back to this purpose question, and you said, some people don't have a purpose; they just fall into a business. Some people,
yeah,
it's their vocation. Some people, it's just like I'm unemployable. And I have to stop them and I say, look, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to work out what you want out of life. And they look at me like I'm weird. And I say, because your business should facilitate what you want out of life. Now, for some people, it's money so I can travel. For some people, it's recognition for my contribution. So I'm really good at what I do and I want to help people, artists who do art and they get recognition for their art. For some people, it's literally a place to go during the day, so something to do. And none of these are the right or wrong answer because the beauty of running your own business is it's like choose your own adventure. You get to pick. And the trick is if you can connect your personal and life goals to your business goals, this alignment creates resilience and commitment. Because when I have a bad day in the office or when I'm not making money this month, I look back to why am I running my business? And if it's to make a difference in the world, because I think just before the interview you said, I like helping people.
yeah,
And if I had a dollar for every person that says I like helping people, I'd be a millionaire because we're programmed to help people. That's actually part of our DNA. And so when people say, well, I love helping people, I go, I get it because that's your programming. So how can we help as many people with what you've got to offer as possible? And so now we just bring those two together. And I think you've done
yeah.
that successfully in your world as well.
And for me, it comes down to alignment
Yeah.
because when you're in alignment, things are congruent.
Mm.
What you say, what you do, how you feel, and how you show up and how people receive you,
Yeah.
which is your energy, is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've discovered over, the time that I've been in business is it's not always about just, what you're doing because people are smart,
Yeah.
right? They'll pick up on whether you're in alignment with what you're doing or not. They'll know if you're just out to get their money. They'll know if you're just, doing something for the sake of it or if you're actually really passionate about what it is that you do. And so when you have alignment between your why, who you serve, and what you actually offer,
Yeah.
that starts to create the energy
Mm.
that's going to build the momentum to really grow your business. And for me, I believe that's what helped me to grow my old business, which was my massage clinic,
Yeah.
into a 3-room clinic in the middle of Martin Place where I had like 6 staff. It was, it was something more than just me.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because people, like, I believe my staff and my clients could feel how aligned it was with what I was creating.
Hmm.
And when you're in alignment, that's when things flow.
Okay. So let's turn to this practice of business kinesiology.
Mhm.
What is it? What does it look like?
Um, yeah, it's really fun. That's what it is.
Ah,
My personal motto is if it's not fun, it won't get done. And I know this in business because, there are days where things aren't fun to do, but if you can make it fun, it makes it so much easier. And so with business kinesiology, I offer one-on-one coaching and I also do group coaching,
yeah.
where I take people through um, a process of really helping them to find with crystal clear clarity what it is that they want,
Yep.
and then that helps them to then create a plan um, towards what they want. When you have clarity, it's really important because that's what's going to pave your path. The second step in what I do is helping people build more confidence. And confidence in the three S's, I call them, which is yourself, your service, and your sales ability. Because there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to sell, or they've got weird uh, vibes around money,
Hmm.
whether receiving money, charging money, asking for money,
Yep.
um, and how they price their services. And so I believe everybody's got a money story that they've grown up with, and it can really impact your ability to grow and scale your business
Mm.
if you don't look at that.
Yeah.
So the third step is really about finding alignment in, I call it real world alignment. So it's not just about doing strategy because I believe that business is 20% strategy and 80% energy. It's about finding the strategies that align with you and your clients and where you want to be. Because even if you knew all the strategies in the world, if you don't show up with the right energy, people are going to feel it.
Yep.
And so when you're aligned with, you've got that conscious alignment with what you want and who you want to serve.
Yep.
You've worked through your unconscious alignment in terms of your confidence and your money story, and you can start to take inspired action towards what you want.
Hmm.
Then that is when things start to happen. And the last stage of it, I actually call this the cure. I'm ever the scientist. It's my four stages of alignment. The first stage is conscious alignment,
Yep.
unconscious alignment, real world alignment, and the last stage is actually energetic alignment, and that's where the kinesiology comes in, and working on a 5D or vibrational way, because when it comes down to it, the entire world, like everything is energy, and energy is everything.
Hmm.
And if you are able to become more aligned with who you want to be energetically and create from that space, that is how things manifest in your business.
So I'll take the pragmatic view on this and say this is about purpose. And when people are on purpose, then their energy is higher. And when people are misaligned with their purpose, then their energy is diluted. And I just
Yeah.
want to touch on, you said a couple of things there that are interesting, and money creates problems. And it's not money that creates problems, it's the thought around money that creates the problem. Because money is just a measuring tool, right? It's like a
Yeah.
tape.
It's people's energy around money.
Yeah. So I spend half of my time trying to re-educate people on this because people say time is money, and they say money is
Yeah.
the root of all evil, and they say money doesn't grow on trees, and these are all beliefs. And
Yep.
all I know is that money is a scorecard, right? That's what it is. It just tells us
Totally.
value. It's a way of measuring value. And so when someone says I'm worth X dollars, then some people go, oh, they're pretty arrogant. They think they're worth thousands of dollars an hour. And you go, it's interesting because who measures value on hours, right? And we were having this conversation earlier today about the shifting of the employment system. We're moving
Okay.
to 4-day work weeks, and we're talking about employees getting more breaks and more compensation and more leave and more this and more that and more rights. And a lot of people in business, they're stressed about this. They go, oh my God, I have to pay more wages. I have to give them 4-day work weeks. I have to give them more sick leave, more parental leave, more this leave, more that leave. And I went through this process, right? First, as a person who helps people grow their businesses, it was, oh yeah, you just have to work out where that money's coming from. And then it sort of reminded me of the real reasoning behind how you employ people is hourly rate is something from the industrial age. Okay.
Uh-huh.
If I pay someone for an hour of their time, I expect them to clock in, spend an hour, and clock out. Now, if I run a factory, I need someone to stand in front of a machine for that 1 hour because the machine's running. We now live in the information age and the communication age. And really, I don't care how long someone sits in front of their computer. What I care about is how much do they produce for me.
Mm.
Imagine moving from hourly rate to productivity.
Yeah.
Now, that's using metrics that are not hours, but metrics that are value. And I'm sort of going a long way around, but you talked about this thing about people have this barrier around the beliefs around money, and then you said there's an alignment issue, and a lot of this is because we're swayed by what society expects from us, and we don't listen to our misalignment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's COVID that caused us to go broke in business, when reality is we weren't super profitable beforehand. Or we say that it's this increase in interest rates that's killing us. And you go, well, they're not that much greater than they were 5 years ago. So no one complained when they went down. Everyone complained
Totally.
when they go up. And what you're talking about is take all that to the side, push all that to the side, and let's talk about alignment. Let's talk about, are you doing what you should be doing? Well, I don't know. It's where I work. It's what I do. And that's that whole I'm not willing to look into it type thing. Yeah.
Kind of. I think you've opened a really good can of worms there. And as somebody who's employed people in the past,
Yeah.
what I know is that it's not always about money,
Mm-hmm.
but if I had happy staff,
Yeah.
then productivity is going to increase,
Right.
which means happier customers who come back more, who pay more.
So it is about money.
And it's in a way, but it's about happiness.
Yeah.
And
So
when you're happy, it's being in alignment with what you're doing and what you're receiving.
right. What I heard is it's not about money, but money tells me whether they're happy, and my clients are happy, and the shareholders are happy because the money
In a
represents.
business world, it is the scorecard, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so when people sort of get funny about it and they go, well, I'm not in business to make money. I'm in business to help people. And I say, well, that's fine, but if you can't trade because you haven't got enough money, there's not a lot of people you can help.
Mm.
So I'm not sort of insisting that you're wrong or I'm right. I'm just saying it's a scorecard. You could ignore the scorecard. Some businesses are not for profit, but when you look deep into the bowels of them, they actually need to make a profit for the charity. So they might not keep the profit, but they need to be profitable. Still
Yes.
numbers, right? It's just how we categorize them. And what you've touched on here is super important, because I think when we go into business, it becomes a very rude awakening for some people about the value that they actually are generating. And so when we look in their bank account and there's no money, and I've had this before, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Great. Are you making money? No. Well, what are you busy doing? Oh, serving clients, doing this, doing that. And you go, but the maths isn't stacking up here. Oh, but I'll make money in the future. Are you sure of that? Can you show me that? No. But if I do the best I can, then I will eventually make it, right? Wrong.
Gosh, oh my gosh, that breaks my heart.
But it's a fact for a lot of people, and we hear it. We call it busyness, right? Where
Yeah,
people are, how are you going in business? Oh, we're flat out. Oh, that's good. Yeah,
you're
yeah, it's
just
great.
busy being busy.
How's the bank account look? Not so great. Okay, so there's a disconnect between those two things. So I think as we go around in circles on this topic, what's clarifying for me is this importance of not judging money as a good or a bad thing. It's really just an indicator.
Mm.
And if there's not enough money in the bank account, all it's indicating is something's wrong with my model. Yeah.
For me, I think money is an energetic exchange,
Hmm.
and there has to be an equal amount of giving and receiving. And I think there's a lot of the clients that I work with who are healers or coaches have stuff around money because they think, well, if I'm doing this, I love it. I should be able to just do it for free. I want to do it for free.
Yeah.
And that's not how the universe works. The
Yeah.
universe there has to be balance. And I think that that's, again, it comes into people's money story of what money actually means to them. So there's so many layers to this. It's
Well,
yeah, it's fascinating.
as you say, the other one that I hear people say, oh, I need cash. I just need someone to give me money, lend me money, invest in my business idea, because then that's the thing that's stopping me. And I look at it and I say, investors are pretty astute. And when you say, hey, I've got a great business idea and I want you to invest in it, the first question they're going to ask is, what's the risk?
Yeah,
And risk comes in a few different ways. Have you done this before? Is your idea valid? Are you capable of actually taking an idea and turning it into a business? Because money is the most commoditized thing on the planet. And what I mean by that is a dollar is worth a dollar, not more, not less. It's worth a dollar, right? Which means my dollar and your dollar are both worth a dollar. It's commoditized. And the reason we
hmm,
created money in the first place is so I don't have to carry corn in a bucket around to trade with your service, right? So it's just
yeah,
a means of communicating value. So then, if that's the case, when people say, well, all I need is some money, I'm just cash flow short in my business, and assuming someone's just going to hand it to them, that's probably not going to answer the real problem, the underlying problem, which is the value proposition isn't there. So,
yeah,
we sort of work on this and we frustrate ourselves by going, well, if my clients would pay more, then I'd be better off. And you go, well, why aren't they paying more? Oh, because of the competitors. Do the
nope.
competitors sell the same thing as you? Well, no, I'm better. But if you're better, how come they're not willing to pay more? Well, because, they just see a chiropractor as a chiropractor or a plumber as a plumber and plumbers are this price. And so you start sort of questioning what's your value proposition and how are you communicating it. And they go, oh, I don't want to get into that. I don't understand marketing. And you say, well, you're in business, right? Let's look at the scorecard. The scorecard's not looking good, so something's not right here. But I just
Mm,
want to help people. Yeah, I get it. But helping people and them seeing the value in the help is going to be translated into how much they're willing to pay. Okay. Once we get past all the biases around that and the belief systems, you just say it's just a scorecard. It's neither good nor bad.
yeah,
And so now we clear that, and now we can get to work with fixing the service. And I think this is the missing link for a lot of people is they justify why they can't make money or why they can't scale or why they can't get enough, they can't charge enough. And the justification doesn't solve the problem. It just keeps us where we are because as soon as you tell me the reasons I can't, you've just consolidated your position. And I think what you talk about and the thing that resonated for me the most is, we talk in business about what can I do to solve the problem as opposed to why I can't solve the problem because
yeah.
why I can't is a waste. How I can is movement. Yeah. So,
100%, 100%. And I think for me, it all comes down to how we think about ourselves. So our mindset, our energy,
yeah.
and our alignment with who we are and how, when you talk about value, how we value ourselves. Because if we don't value ourselves, how is anybody else going to pay what you want them to pay you?
So let's go down the track of the woo woo. You're a kinesiologist and I'm
Yeah.
a business person. Are you going to make me put some rocks in my hand and push down on my hand as you talk about money?
No, I actually do all my work remotely,
Okay.
so we don't even have to be in the same room.
Right.
But traditionally, yes, kinesiology does use muscle testing. I
Mhm.
still use it in how I practice with people,
Yeah.
and but I connect with everybody on an energetic level
Hmm.
because we're all connected anyway, right? And all I'm doing is really tapping into the person's energetic system or their nervous system, if you want to talk about it in anatomy and physiology terms.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just looking at where they are storing stress in their body.
Okay.
Because when you have stress in your body, it creates a pattern of behavior. And so, for example, if you know, using money as an example, if you don't believe that you can charge X amount or that you can convert at X amount, then no matter what you value your program or your service at,
Yeah.
you're going to have trouble selling
Yeah.
it, right? And so what kinesiology does is it helps to diffuse that energy block in your body And once you can do that, you're finding different ways around finding solutions and
Mm.
how you can value yourself more and charge more. So I love kinesiology because it's not just looking at one aspect of what's going on. It's looking at your mental, your emotional, physical, even. Because, for me, the reason why I found kinesiology was in my second year of business, I got so stressed that my body broke out in psoriasis
Yeah.
all over my hands and my elbows, which obviously wasn't a great look for a massage therapist. I would have to say, looking back on it, I was the most stressed out massage therapist ever, which is hilarious. But what I realized was, for me, there was actually a spiritual disconnect as well.
Yeah.
And so, when we talk about the woo, it's about looking at all aspects of the self and not just
Yeah.
us as a physical being.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. It's amazing what you can learn about yourself if you're open to it.
Because and I keep bridging between what you do and how people in business act. We talk about marketing a lot, and people say, "I need help with my marketing. Can you tell me what the best channel to put my? Should I use Facebook?" And I have a really simple answer. I go, "Don't ask me. I'm not the client. Test it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to judge Facebook as good or bad or indifferent. All I'm going to say is, if you think your clients are on there and you put an ad on there and they respond to it, then
Yeah.
use it, right? So testing and measuring is big for me in business, and it's big for me with health, and it's big for me in all aspects of my life because I think it is
I
naive. I know as I get older, my hearing is reducing in range, right? This is just science. And I used to be able to hear between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz.
Okay.
I now can't hear over whatever, 16 kilohertz. So if there's a sound at 20 kilohertz that I can't hear, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So if that's true in science, then we're assuming that just because we can't hear, see, or touch things doesn't mean they don't exist. It's just we don't have proof.
Yeah.
And I think it's naive to then think if I can't see it, feel it, touch it, it doesn't exist. And the other side of this is testing stuff out. If people are unsure, if they're sitting there going, I don't know why I'm not successful, then you probably owe it to yourself to look at different options because what you think it is and what it could be might be a mismatch.
Yeah.
So, even though I call it woo woo, or as a friend of mine used to call it, high level weird stuff, didn't use the word
I love
stuff.
that.
And it's just so simple because it's not a matter of does it work, doesn't it work. That's a judgment. The question
Yeah.
is, am I open to it and does it steer me in the right direction? Because if someone comes to a high level weird stuff person and that person says, you need to eat 2 carrots at 2 o'clock every day and you'll be successful, and I eat 2 carrots at 2 o'clock every day and then I win Taps Lotto, I could make a connection between the two, right? Now,
You
whether
could.
it's true or false, it doesn't matter because the question is, am I successful? Yes, because of my 2 carrots, right? But I sort of feel it's naive to think that that doesn't happen. I think it's naive to think that if we can't see, touch, and feel it, it doesn't exist. And I
Yeah.
think when people are really sort of hitting a brick wall, and especially you talked about like physical ailment as a result of business, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? I know I'm a massage therapist, but I'm stressed and therefore I have psoriasis. And you go, okay, well, the conclusion, the dots all join. But really, you're saying your work, your stress, your feeling about work has caused a physical ailment. Yeah, well, that makes sense because psoriasis is a stress-related ailment. Okay, so why do we say that the money in your bank account is not directly related to stress either?
100%.
Yeah.
So I guess you've brought up a really great point, and this is why I love business kinesiology and how I put it together because I started looking at business
Uh-huh.
like a person,
Hmm.
and what we see all our results in business are just symptoms.
Yeah.
Just like if you're seeing skin issues or gut issues or um, I don't know, pain in your body. It's just a symptom of something else that's usually causing it. And so with business kinesiology, I look at, well, what are the symptoms of your business right now?
Yeah.
And what's the underlying cause?
Yeah. Brilliant. Which is straight up medical science 101, right? read the
Yeah.
symptoms, and go back to the root cause. And we do the same when we analyze businesses that aren't successful, and we say, well, how do I grow my business? Well, let's have a look at what's working, what's not working, what's your market, and you do all the checks, come up with a conclusion. That's
Yeah.
super interesting, Mel. So, look, in terms of finding you, if we Google the business kinesiologist, do we find you?
I hope so.
I'm
Yes.
not, I'm assuming so because I've never heard that term before. But if people want to reach out and contact you, what's the best way to get in touch?
You can find me at my website, which is thebusinesskinesiologist.com, or Instagram at the Business Kinesiologist, or Facebook also at the Business Kinesiologist.
Well, then,
So yeah,
a good chance they'll find you when they just type that in the search. But it's been a
absolutely.
fascinating topic. I'm sure it's a bottomless pit of ideas and cans of worms. We opened at least two. But I suppose for me, the message is if you're not getting what you want out of life, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect a different result. And
Yeah,
if you're open enough to try different things, I'm not saying things will work or not work, but I'm just saying that what you don't try won't work. So it's that whole open mindedness for people to find the missing key to their success sometimes. And I do believe
yeah,
most people's businesses are stagnating because of constraints, not because of lack of knowledge. When people say, I don't know how to do something, I say, pull your phone out of your pocket, type in how to, and then the thing you didn't know how to do. And I bet you find lots of information. So this idea of not knowing is not relevant anymore. Uh,
no.
it's not,
And for me, I think my belief is your external reality is a reflection of your internal reality.
yeah.
And so for me, running a business is definitely personal development 101.
Hmm.
And if you're willing to work on yourself, and this is exactly what I experienced for myself, when I worked on myself, my business grew exponentially.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Mel, I really appreciate your time today. It's been such an insightful conversation just to help people maybe understand what's holding them back. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. Pleasure.